Hi, everybody, and welcome for another edition of Litter Media Live Special Edition. I'm your host, Mike Smith. Our interview today brought to you by Classic Brands. In studio with us is Todd Huffman. He's Executive Director of the Pickaway County Veteran Services Office. We're going to be talking about the service that they offer our area veterans in Pickaway County and a little bit more. All that's coming up right after this. We're back with Todd Huffman, again, of Pickaway County Veteran Services. Todd, we appreciate your being with us today. And you're a retired Air Force guy, right?
Yes, I actually was in the Air National Guard for almost 31 years and had to retire for some medical reasons. But, yeah, that afforded me the opportunity to start a month later at the Veteran Service Office in Pickaway County.
We had a story on littermedia.com when you were brought on as the new executive director of Pickaway Veteran Services. I know we've had Bob Leach on for Ross County a number of times. I imagine some of your services are comparable, but what are the specialty items that you're dealing with in Pickaway County?
So every county in Ohio is very fortunate to have a Veteran Service Office in each county. And we offer all the same benefits, the same programs that all the other do, but each office is a little different in the way they do things. Our office, we have 3 service officers. We have a brand new team, but they're all accredited now, and I'm really proud of them for stepping up and getting their accreditation stuff done. So we're pretty busy getting veterans in the office to file claims. If you're a county veteran, resident of Pickaway County for 90 days or more, we do offer financial assistance for those that need it, and also transportation to VA appointments. We do go to VA referred appointments as well, but for the most part, if you have a medical appointment at the VA or they're sending you somewhere else and you need a ride, you can call our office and get it set up.
I'm going to ask you the same question we've asked Bob Leach on a number of occasions about Ross County, and sometimes people that maybe aren't in the military or weren't in the military get confused about what Veteran Services Office is as opposed to services that the Veterans Affairs Department offers. You're basically guiding a veteran into services that might be available to them, right?
Yes, and that's a very good question. We get calls all the time, and somebody told me to call the Circleville VA office. Well, quite honestly, we're not the VA.
No.
We are a county agency that your tax dollars come in. There's a 0.5 millage, and that's what supports our office. And we're there to help veterans get through the processes of the VA, help them get enrolled in health care, get them to where they need to be for different benefits. And if you have a disability claim, we're there to help you file that claim, because the process is huge, and it's very difficult. Sometimes people try to do it themselves and get lost. Right. But we're there to do that process and help you through that process. And I might mention too that we do this for free. Yeah. There's other agencies out there that are trying to impede on veterans' rights and make some money off the veteran. We never charge money for anything.
Right.
It's a service that's given through the state Ohio Department of Veteran Services, and it's free to the veteran.
Yeah, we got some pushback from one of those organizations of a story that we put out. Actually, it was put out by the county recorders around the state. And like you said, what you're doing is free to the veteran, which they're entitled to. You don't have to pay for this.
Right. Yeah, the veteran earns these rights and benefits by serving their country. And it just doesn't make sense to me when you have a county agency that you can get a hold of. It's going to help you do this process for free. And a lot of other states don't have a veteran service office in each county, but Ohio does. So I encourage anybody, if you're a Pickaway County resident, please call our office, other offices, and we get busy too. We might not be able to get you in right away. You're able to go to any office, county agency, to file a claim. Now, when it comes to financial assistance and transportation, that all comes out of the county's monies, the funds from that county for taxes. Right. So you have to be a resident of the county for those two benefits.
Now, when you mention, like, for example, a veteran might have a medical claim, does that have to be an illness or a condition that was that stemmed from a service-related thing, or what?
Yeah, so if the veteran had been injured or has some type of illness, mental health, physical, anything like that, it has to be related to something that caused it in the service. It could have been a situation that maybe they had issues with mental health issues is a big topic right now. But they could have had mental health issues before they got in the service, and it could have been worsened by whatever situation they faced in the service. So to file a claim, you have to have something that was caused or aggravated by the service, and it also has to be critical in nature, and you're still treating for today.
Yeah. Here's just an example. I won't give out his name, but my uncle, who was in the Army back in the early 1960s, he was on a ship heading to Europe, and you've seen all the movies, how cramped some of those ships' quarters can be. Well, he was either going up or down a step or something, and he hit his head on, I think it was like a bulkhead or something, because it was very low. Well, at the time, I think it kind of stunned him. They took him down to the medical room, but many years later, he developed neck problems that required surgery. But because they noted that he had that incident happen on that ship, and I'm talking about maybe 30 or 40 years later,
yes,
they were able to track that down, and he got surgery through the VA.
And he's fortunate that was in his medical records, right, and it's easy to track down. There's a lot of cases where something happened in the service, and say if they're in a war zone, you just patch yourself up and go on. But there might be a medical record somewhere, but when you're in theater like that, it's a little more difficult to get. That's our job, to help try to track that stuff down and get the evidence needed to file the claim.
Now, we've done a number of stories and interviews about the PACT Act.
Yes.
That was, I think it was passed a number of years ago, but they were still trying to get that information out to, I believe it's veterans who might have been exposed to Agent Orange during Vietnam.
So the PACT Act has a few Vietnam era subjects that came about. The majority of the PACT Act was for the Gulf War veterans.
Gotcha.
So hypertension is a big one that covers the veterans of the Vietnam War era. And then also they opened up different areas that you could have been exposed to Agent Orange. And there's a blood disorder and a couple other things. But the majority of that was the toxins and exposures to the Gulf War veterans.
Do you have any idea how many veterans reside in Pickaway County?
So
approximately.
We get a report each year, and I think that number comes from the amount of veterans that treat at the VA, and they report they live in Pickaway County. But when I first started, that was around 6,900. This year's report said 3,900.
Oh.
But with the growth in northern Pickaway County around Rickenbacker, I know a lot of military and veteran families are moving in. So I'm not sure that's completely accurate.
Right. Of course, we've been talking a lot about the medical programs that are available to veterans that you can point them out to? Are there employment services or anything like that you can help with too?
So most of that's referral. We refer them to Job and Family Services. And if you're unemployed or just seeking a job and go through Job and Family Services, and if you're a veteran, you have a veteran status. They're supposed to look at that and give you preference. And then there's also others that work there that will take the more extreme cases if you have disabilities that hinder you from doing specific physical jobs or whatever. They have people that will help you find jobs that fit your situation.
Right. Of course, with our World War II veterans, that population's quickly fading away. Are most of the guys or gals that you're working with, are they from Korea on up or what?
We do have Korean vets. We have a lot of Vietnam vets still. And unfortunately, they're starting to get older and pass. The Gulf War veterans is, I don't want to say the majority, but they're right there with the Vietnam veterans. And now that everything's winding down over in Afghanistan and everything, the younger generation's getting out. And I can't stress enough, when a veteran gets out of the service, they need to look up their nearest veteran service office and make an appointment to talk about anything that might have happened in your service, especially within 1 year of getting out, because that's a very important time frame. If you can file that claim and prove that it was related to your service, they'll go from your discharge date as far as starting your disability.
As you know, Todd, a lot of our great veterans, they deal with things and they just shrug it off and move on. And what I'm hearing is if you even suspect that you have a circumstance or a condition that might be military related, don't take that chance. Talk to you guys about it.
Right. Come see us, make an appointment, call your nearest veteran service office. But the biggest thing is try to get signed up for medical care at the VA. There's also the Vet Center. The Vet Centers are an entity of the VA, and they do things a little different. They offer counseling. They also help file claims and stuff, and your records are secluded from the VA. They do a lot of mental health counseling. They do family counseling, individuals, group counseling. And we actually have, the Vet Center has she's a trained psychologist, but she's a counselor, comes every month, once a month, and then if, depending on the demand, if she needs to come more than one day, she will. But the way I'm going about doing that is to call the Vet Center at 877-927-8387 and schedule an appointment and tell them you want to see them in the Pickaway County office, because most of the vet centers are up in Columbus.
So if you're living in Pickaway County, it doesn't matter whether you were born there and a veteran, it's just whether you're residing there now.
Yes. Yeah. And like I said, if you're seeing somebody or if you're coming in for a claim, you can go to any county. Actually, I would say if you lived in a nearby county and you wanted to see somebody in our office versus drive to Columbus, you could probably tell them that you want to see them in our office. You don't have to be registered with our office to see the Vet Center.
Okay. Todd, anything else about the Pickaway Veteran Service Office you want to touch on before we close out?
So I think we kind of hit everything. Okay. We do, like I said before, we do offer transportation services to VA appointments. You can get a hold of our office at 740-474-3650. If you're in town and you just want to stop in, we're in the Annex building. It's on Main Street. For those of you who lived in Pickaway County as long as I have or longer, it's the old J.C. Penney's building. We're in the middle of the building. You can park in the parking lot behind us or park out front. We're right in the middle. So
if you're going down for donuts or pumpkin pie or something, just stop right on in.
yeah, and bring some donuts in with you.
Todd, thanks for being with us today.
And thanks for having us.
Again, Todd Huffman, Executive Director of the Pickaway County Veteran Services Office, our guest today. He's also a U.S. Air Force veteran himself. Our interview today brought to you by Classic Brands.